Air Canada has begun to suspend flights ahead of a possible flight attendant strike on Saturday. More cancellations will follow tomorrow, with all Air Canada and Air Canada Rouge flights halted by the weekend. The airline says affected passengers will be notified and offered full refunds. This, of course, in response to Air Canada flight attendants who have presented strike notice for the weekend after reaching an impasse during wage negotiations over the course of the week. They are demanding to be paid for work that they do before boarding their flights. They want higher wages. Let's now go to Natasha Stea, president of the Union for Montreal-based Air Canada flight attendants. Natasha, thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me.
There's that popular refrain among strikers. What do we want and when do we want it? I know you want it now, but what do you want?
I just want to start off saying that, strike notice is a tool that you use when you bargain to kind of apply pressure. But the end game is really to get a collective agreement, a fair one, and not go on strike. But it could happen as early as 1 a.m. on the 16th. So to answer your question, what do we want? We would like to get fair wages, being compensated for the work we do that is not compensated at this time, and just be treated to the right value that we have for our employer that's raking in billions of dollars.
So I want to ask you about if the issues that you have and the pay that you want for the work where you say you're not getting paid, is that an industry-wide problem? Or are there some things here where Air Canada is a particularly bad actor?
No, it used to be a bad problem, if I could say, an issue with the way we were paid. Sorry, it was an industry standard, but it's starting to become an issue now. And a lot of companies are addressing this in Europe, in the States. We're comparing, a Delta down in the States that have their employers have recognized the time that we work before a flight actually departs. And so in Canada as well, Porter, Pascan. So things are changing in the industry. So we're not asking Air Canada to break this glass ceiling. We're just asking them to keep up with the times, to update our pay structure.
So, when we talk about pay structures, so how you're paid, the hours that you're paid for, I mean, in the past was that taken into account? Okay, you're not technically paid for these hours, but we get you by paying you more for when you are officially on the clock. I'm interested into how that works.
Exactly. That was exactly the way we were paid. It was called a formula pay. It was taking into account the way our schedules look like, because we do have longer days. Some of our flight attendants have duty days of 19 hours and 30 minutes. That's our max when we go overseas. So yes, the ratio had a compensatory, formula to it, if I could say. I'm making up words now, but
okay.
There was a rationale for this. The industry has changed over the past 20, 30 years. A flight attendant will not just do one flight, so one boarding, one preparation, one briefing. They'll do up to 6. This keeps on adding on. And I was reminded yesterday by somebody, things have changed so much in the industry. Flight attendants in the 70s couldn't get married, couldn't have children. We've really evolved in time, so our pay structure needs to keep up with the times and the cost of living.
Have other flight attendants unions, let's say around North America, other air carriers, have they been going through the same process and getting better deals and negotiating better contracts? Are they seeing boosts in their wages?
Absolutely. So Air Transat negotiated a couple of years ago. They've kept up with cost of living and that's just for them. Pascan and Porter have now compensation for the work that they're doing on the ground. So it's nothing new. And now we could compare also with the States. They're having the same issues that they're bringing to the forefront to spotlight all this time that we're doing, which is an average of about 35 hours a month for some of our Rouge flight attendants. So this is a lot of hours. It's not just a couple of hours a month. It's the equivalent of a week's work.
Mm. We're with Natasha Stea, president of the Union for Montreal-based Air Canada flight attendants. Natasha, what does a flight attendant make right now? You know, and I've seen various, and you know, I've seen just online some flight attendants for Air Canada that recently began working for Air Canada, and I've seen some of their salaries. It seems particularly low, but what is the going rate right now?
So the starting rate for a flight attendant starting at Air Canada Rouge, their takeaway is $19.52 right now.
That's per month? Per month. $19.52 is their takeaway. Gotcha.
Yes. And if I could, just compare it to, we're federally regulated, so we would get, minimum wage, which is $17.75, working 40 hours a week. That would be $28.40 a month. So we're so much less than minimum wage. So this needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm. So if you're so much there's such a gap between what a new flight attendant makes and then that minimum wage. If that gap is so large, is there any hope that you're going to come to an agreement before a strike?
We're hoping. I need to address the fact that Air Canada's made billions of dollars just in the last 2 years, $3.5 billion. And this is because of the 10-year collective agreement that we were in that kind of kept us stuck at this wage rate. So they've profited over this. Inflation has gone up. There's so many factors, and I'm not saying that it's their fault. I'm just saying that so many things have changed. You need to address these changes.
Are you prepared for a long work stoppage in order to get your way? Are your members prepared for that?
We're looking to get a fair agreement before we go on strike. That is not what we want out of this. It breaks our heart to see that passengers would have their flights canceled or disrupted. We don't want that, but if we have to resort to that, it's a must.
Is Air Canada bargaining, negotiating in good faith?
We haven't seen them since we've given the strike notice. So we still have time to negotiate. Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, Natasha, does it really all come down to in this case, in this battle, all comes down to dollars and cents and wages?
It's recognition for the work that we're doing. It really is, because there's so much work that we're doing that's not paid. Bottom line, yes, it's going to come with money in our pockets, but it's actually work that we're doing in uniform, front-facing. It needs to be addressed.
Natasha, we're going to have to leave it there. I want to thank you so much for coming on with this morning, providing us with the update.
Thank you.
That's Natasha Stea, president of the Union for Montreal-based Air Canada flight attendants.